The boy Dub Deuce in the building.
Here we go. What up, what up, what up? It is that guy Dub, and I'm back with another video. How you guys doing? At the end of the day, shout it, I'm good money. Now, today, we've got a special guest in the building. She's got her own podcast. She's all over the city of Cleveland. She's doing big things in the city. You see, she got her own podcast, Tea Time with Tocombamaria. Miss Tocombamaria, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you, Tyrone?
I'm doing all right. And I know, rushing through that interview, I just butchered your name. It's tocombamaria.
It's Tacoma. the B is silent. It's tocombamaria.
Thank you for the correction. I'm sitting there going over and over my. I was like, I do not want to butcher her name. I don't want to butcher her name. I don't want to butcher her name. So my apologies right off the gate with that.
No worries. No worries.
So you have a podcast. So let's start off there. So what does your podcast consist of?
So my podcast is, I call it basically a lifestyle podcast, which leaves me open to be able to talk about anything.
Mm-hmm.
But what I talk about most often is really the human condition and relationships between people and,
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with yourself. So one of my huge things is, sort of encouraging people to be their most authentic self.
Well, see, that's awesome, because that's what I also try to do with my platform as well. But you said one of the bigger things you said as far as my platform is also teaching children. You said, like, because we're all in this social media space, and in a lot of ways, children are not prepared for the social media space because their minds are not as developed. They get in their feelings. I mean, of course, adults do the same thing, but I think it's a little harder for children. So you said, with that being said, how do you said reach out to children to teach them about this social media space that we've garnered ourselves into?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I gear, my show more toward the adult viewers, although it's on social media, right? So anybody can take a look at it, which is part of why I make efforts to be careful with particular things. And some subject matters I like to do maybe later at night. But I think that when you're talking about social media and children, you really have to make them aware of the dangers and, the fact that, I think what we need to do is make sure that the children understand that what somebody else might be saying to you, commenting to you, that you can't internalize that. You can't take that personally. These are strangers. And, we hear about cyberbullying. That's a huge thing. There are children who are having some very poor outcomes because they've been bullied online. And so sort of teaching your child to have as strong of an identity with self as they possibly can, to look to support from people that they know and not internalize information from, comments, ridicule, whatever, from people that they don't know. Because I think that's the detriment with social media, is that we get caught up in all of these things and we don't know the backstory. We don't really know what we're looking at. We don't know who we're talking to, and who's talking back to us. So I think just monitoring your children, but also letting them know that don't take a criticism or don't take a comment necessarily too seriously.
Absolutely. It's like something I try to teach to the children on my platform is just like, look at every negative comment like this. At the end of the day, whatever negativity they put in your comment section is just projection, and realistically, after they get done typing that comment, they have to go back to their miserable lives.
Right. That's right.
So that you could sit there and let that mess up your day over somebody just trying to project their energy onto you, or you could sit there and just be like, and use it for what it is, or you can learn how to filter your comments. You'll say, if you have a big enough platform, or even if you have a small platform, you have 2 followers, get your best friend or something like that to moderate your comments, especially if you're going live. You know what I mean?
Right.
That will save you a lot of time and detriment and headache. I trust me.
Yes.
So, when did you start your podcast?
I started my podcast 2 years ago in August. So this August will be 2 years.
Okay.
Super, super excited. I started off in a studio and was there for several months, and then moved to doing it from my home.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I've been doing that from my home for over a year, a little over a year now.
Okay, well, congratulations on the upcoming anniversary.
Thank you.
And when you were in the studio, you were at We Up, right?
I was, yep.
Yeah, you shout out to Goldie.
WeUpRadio.com. Shout out Goldie, Montana.
Hmm.
Yes.
And you said how I got turned on to you guys was through our brother Lex Vegas, and you saying
Hmm.
you were doing the show with you said Tyrone, our
Yeah.
good friend.
Yep.
And I had him on my show. You said not too long ago, and it was just and we decided. I knew once I had him, I definitely had to have you. You know
Well,
what I'm
thank you. Thank you. I miss my co-host.
saying?
I really, really do. But he's doing his thing with his comedy, and he's out there, and I'm so proud of him. I'm just
Mhm.
so incredibly proud of him.
And you said I've actually seen him on stage, and yes, you're right. He's awesome on stage.
Yeah.
You're so like a lot of people. You said they say it's almost podcast or career suicide to enter into you see a show with a you said with the opposite sex. You said
Hmm.
a lot of people say that was sometimes feelings will get involved, or sometimes you just any particular thing could use to basically break it up. Like because everybody's still talking about the whole breakup between the Breakfast Club. Like you say
Right.
they've explained it 100 times, but the people are saying they got their own thing to say. But I
Right.
believe what they're saying. I believe she got an opportunity to get her own show, which I'm sure she wanted anyway.
Yes.
And you said she stayed with the Breakfast Club for 13 years, and then now it's time for her to shine. But the people are still running their mouths. So how
Right.
do you feel? How do you feel about having a co-host of using the opposite sex, and what problems that you could run into, and what do you think is the people's reaction? You said people. What do you think that people can bring to the table that you said could possibly break y'all up, or use it, or you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I
Right.
just
Yeah.
totally
I
butchered
got
that
you.
too.
I got you. So when I first started, I did hear a lot about, having a co-host of the opposite sex being career suicide and all of that and how it just never works. And I was sort of, Tyrone and I had well, we have a great dynamic, but just from the moment I met him, just the chemistry, the dynamic. And I'm thinking, never that. I don't understand. I don't see, and I still don't understand because that was not my experience. But,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think that when people are minded to be professional about what they're doing, when people, just like when you're going to your regular job, a 9 to 5, no job encourages fraternizing. In some cases, you can lose your job for fraternizing with somebody that you work with because people know, you don't eat where
Right.
so it can cause trouble. If there's a relationship and folks are not feeling each other after a while, then definitely, it can be a detriment. But when everybody is just friendly and when everybody is professional and when your common goal is your show and the outcome of that thing, then I think you can keep it very well together, and you can keep it above board, and you can sort of you can sift out those sort of issues.
Mm-hmm.
What can people bring to the table to make sure that things are successful? A level head, a mind to say, hey, look, maybe treat your co-host like family as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to, somebody that you could get with. Look at
Right.
them more like a brother, sister, cousin, someone that is off limits,
Mm-hmm.
right? Somebody that just, we can't go to that extra place because people know, if things don't work out, or even if they do work out, people still have friction between them. So y'all could have had a bad night, you get on the show, and it's hard feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So just bring the level of professionalism, make that person off limits to you,
Okay.
period. That is your partner in business. That is your, doesn't matter how attractive they are, doesn't matter how charismatic they are, just internalize that stuff as a friend,
Mm-hmm.
or as family. And with Tyrone and I, the thing was his career started taking off.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I mean, what do? You encourage someone to fly
Mm-hmm.
when they start taking off. And so as I miss him, I really do miss him as a co-host, but he's doing his thing. And I think it's absolutely wonderful. And that's what people, whenever there's a group, I mean, we can look at the Jackson 5, we can look at New Edition. We can look at just about Destiny's Child. You can look at any group. Folks still desire to do their own thing. You know, with the Breakfast Club, yeah, you're together, but you still, and it's a great dynamic and it works, but people still desire to be recognized for themselves and the
Absolutely.
things that they do. You know, I think it's just this human thing that we have. And so most groups break up, most groups go their separate ways, you know, or do individual projects because it just feeds that need in you to be recognized for yourself and not somebody else. But you know, just work at the partnerships. If folks are in situations, just work at the partnership. And if you're able to stay, you know, together as co-hosts,
Mm-hmm.
just make sure you put business first. That is just always business. And if you have issues, just like any other relationship, you talk things out, you work things out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my 2 cents about it.
Well, that's a very interesting perspective because, like, said like we're gonna switch gears a little bit because right now we're talking about what's hot in the streets. Everybody's talking about this Ebony K. Williams thing. You saying now as a woman, you saying like how did that hit you? And she's like, well, no, I wouldn't date a bus driver. I'll date him if he owns the bus. So you had some people saying, yes, girl, you said you achieved a certain status level, so yes, you should demand a certain status level of a man that you want to attract. But then you also had another, you saying side of it. It was like, oh well, you're saying you're shitting on the you saying the regular working man.
Mhm.
So where did that hit you, in that particular argument?
I think that we really, I think we pay attention to the wrong thing too often when we're looking at relationships. It is not about the person who owns the bus. He could be an asshole in real life. You know, the person who drives the bus, that might be your soulmate. So I
Mm-hmm.
definitely have issues with us putting people's stations in life or careers or just jobs ahead of who they are as an actual person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't, your career or your job is only a very small portion, at least it should be only a very small portion of who you really are.
Mm-hmm.
But when we are underdeveloped in ourselves, when we have tunnel vision, when we can't see the fullness of what it means to be a human being, thriving and, you know, excelling and all of that, then we put sort of these ridiculous, weird boundaries on things. And we figure that, well, if I'm making this, then my person has to be like that. And but what about the character of the
Mm-hmm.
individual? You know, what about just because the person is driving the bus and not owning the bus doesn't mean that's not an intelligent person. It doesn't mean that's not a hardworking person. It doesn't, a whole lot of things, you know. So I just don't agree with throwing away a whole person just because they may not come with, you know, the 6 figures, the 6 feet, the, you know, whatever all these
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous things are. I find it absolutely insane. People don't take the proper amount of time um, to investigate humans for what a human being is and what they can bring into your life. Damn the money.
Mm-hmm.
What how can you feed me emotionally? How can you help me grow as a human? You can always make money. There's always money to be made, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, when they added in the element when they were talking about you saying, okay, the person could be a bus driver, but all they want to do out of life is be a bus driver. They don't want to elevate or you saying anything like that. Does that change? Do you saying the topic? Does that change the conversation in any way for you?
It changes the conversation only if we're talking about, say the person just wants to be the bus driver because they got other stuff going on that is more important that they're working on.
Mm-hmm.
Say that they, you know, they help children or they help whatever outside, you know, they
Mm-hmm.
have a group that they teach or whatever it is that they do. If this person is not developed as a human, if they don't have other interests, if they are just sort of what I like to call a one trick pony, yeah, that's a problem. That is a problem, not because they're a bus driver, it's because they're a one trick pony. If you own the bus company and that's still all that you're just in that lane and nothing else, I don't want you then either, because
Mm-hmm.
you do not have an expanse of experience or, desires, or you are just not you're not tapping in to the fullness of what it is that we're here for. Surely your purpose is not just to own a bus company. You know what I mean?
Right.
Surely your purpose is not just to drive a bus. So what else are you doing? And again, no matter what the person's job is or station in life is, if that's the only thing it's about and there's no personal growth and they are not pouring into me and I can't pour into them because they think it's all good, no, that's a no for me, dog.
And I definitely understand it, because at the end of the day, there's so many ways to, you said, generate income, or this, you said, like, you can have 100 hobbies. You said, or whatever. You said, like me, I like model cars.
Mm-hmm.
I like real cars. I'm enjoying this space where I'm interviewing people using for my show.
Right.
So like, and then for the simple fact, like I said, you can monetize your content. Like before, you said, I get where we're at now. I just don't understand people who are just serial posting to social media just to be doing it when you can monetize your content. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You just doing it just to be doing it. It's like, dude, you literally get all this engagement and you're not doing anything with it. You said you have a potential gold mine sitting on you, but you usually have people trying to help you. You said with that, but you said some people, like you said, just want to be a one-trick pony.
Right.
But you said, but you're a one-trick pony, but you're doing something else anyway. So why not use it?
Yeah. Right. And money is important. Why? Because it's how we get things. It's how we live. But the emphasis that we put on it is where the detriment is. The emphasis that the stronghold that it has on people is people have forgotten that they need to develop who they are as people. Develop who you are. What is your purpose in life? Because surely it's not just about making a whole lot of money. What is your purpose? And that is part of the things that I like to encourage people to tap into. Right. Because there's not a whole lot of talk about that out there. It's to get that bag and I'm going to make this money and I'm going to do this. Okay. And then what? And then what are you going to do? What's your attitude like? What is your, what are you doing aside from that? Who are you aside from that? How do you define yourself?
Absolutely. You saying that, like, because I know personally, I know police officers that are in the real estate, that are you saying in all kind of other things. You saying like, I know we're staying on this one trick pony thing, but like I feel like it's important. Because like speaking of like one trick ponies, is like a lot of these people, going back to the comment section thing, like because Simone Biles just got married. You said congratulations for Simone Biles.
Yeah, congratulations.
Now you look through the comment section. Yes, and it's just so many people are just evil and nasty. It was like, oh my God, you said your edges weren't done.
Right.
You're joking. You're joking, right? to me, that's a one trick pony, because you come into the internet to bash somebody on something you could have, but you're too stuck in your own mentality to possibly achieve.
Yes.
But so you're tearing this woman down who's literally achieved. Like literally the greatest woman in all of gymnastics, the most decorated woman at least in all of gymnastics.
Yes. And all you can give her is, instead of a congratulations or you're happy for her, is discuss the fact that her edges weren't laid. Right. Which speaks to the ignorance and the shallowness, of people like that. And there's plenty out there.
Just like the Little Mermaid movie comes out, I think, in about a week. And I'm not even gonna lie to you. You said I'm honest with my audience. When I saw those videos that those mothers made with their little girls, and you said watching the trailer, and it was like, "Mommy, she looks like me." I cry every time. It's like I cry every. It's like this something special to see. Them little girls, like, she looks like me.
Yeah.
He's like, oh my God.
That's right. We don't get to see that, and for other people, so many people are so upset about it because they're used to seeing them as the star, or it was already put out with them as being depicted. But for a minority, a Black or a brown person, to see somebody that looks like them in something like that, especially young people, you know, little girls and even little boys. We're not just going to say little girls, because it's important for males and females to see the whole picture, you know, to see and to be able to see themselves represented in every kind of a way.
Right. It's just like when I would see the ugliness in the comment section, it was like, oh, you saying that's not my Ariel, which is the, oh my God. But they was like, Ariel's supposed to be a white girl with red hair. I was like, you do know a flounder in yellow, right?
Exactly. And there are black girls with red hair. How about that?
Boom. There you go.
There you go.
Look at the young lady Ice Spice. Use it as well as yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and it's just, it's like I said, to me, it's craziness like within the world. You see, just like I guess the new Peter Pan movie. I guess Tinkerbell is black now, so he was like, oh, you saying Disney's gone woke, which is the dumbest term. It's like the conservative party has literally hijacked a word and totally obliterated it to where it doesn't even mean what it was initially meant for anymore.
Absolutely not. I don't choose to use the word because it just I don't like the word. You know, I don't. There's so many. We can use other adjectives for what is going on, but like you say, they have taken it and put their own agenda behind the word.
Just like you said, like some people are so woke they make it a situation out of something that it's not, especially like in the black community. Because like it's a lot of scenarios to where like people will ask questions like, oh, you're trying to call me a snowflake, or you trying to call me woke or whatever. You say, like, I wish certain people, like, they're so pro their stance to where they don't want to hear another opinion.
Right.
If you're that woke till you won't even listen to another opinion, I need you to take a nap. Period.
Yeah, thank you, because that's not woke. You sleep. You are sleepwalking. That is not woke when you cannot allow your mind to wrap itself around somebody else's viewpoint. You know, where you can't allow that to permeate at least your thought process and give it consideration. Or, you know, everybody is entitled to how they look at things. And you can't be so incredibly stuck where you are that you are unwilling to just listen. And how do we expect to even encourage people or win people over or get people to understand where we're coming from when you can't understand where they're coming from? You can't tell me what I'm doing is wrong if you won't even listen to it, because you don't know. So I'm not trying to hear what you have to say.
Right. And a lot of times he's like, I grew up, you saying, in the South, and my parents are old school, and it was something my father used to say all the time, especially like what the saying was, how you gonna tell me how to fly my kite when yours is stuck in a tree?
I like that. I like that. Yeah, really. Your stuff ain't working. So how you gonna tell me how to deal with mine? Yeah.
And of course, you say, like, I know they say experience is the best teacher, but at the end of the day, like, continuing on that analogy, if yours is still stuck in a tree, you haven't figured out how to get it out. So you can't walk me through a process that you haven't gone all the way through yet.
Right. Now, if yours got stuck and then you were able to get it out, then we can have a conversation, because you have a fullness of the experience. You didn't just have I flew my kite and everything was perfectly fine. No, you know how to handle adversity in your situation. So we can sit down and we can talk about it. But, you know, if you can't see all sides, if you haven't experienced other things, what do you really have to say? Exactly.
And like another thing that's popular right now is this whole Bud Light debacle. Are you familiar with this?
I am not, but I famously call Bud Light sock water, because that is the most disgusting beer I've ever
I'm not even. The only Bud Light I drink is Bud Light Platinum. That's it.
Okay. I don't know. Bud Light there are so many other things, so many other beers out there with such a vast, you know, flavor palette. I don't understand why Bud Light is even a thing. But I'm sorry, I digress. What's going on about Bud Light?
Okay, well, you said, like I said, if you never tried Bud Light Platinum, I'm telling you, it'll change your life. You said, like, yeah.
Okay.
Because regular Bud Light and Bud Light Platinum, they are not the same. I promise you that.
Okay.
But anyway, you said a lot of people, especially on the conservative side, are highly upset because they put a transgender woman on a can and put the rainbow flag on it and everything like that. Now, you said the thing that baffles me is because just what you said. Like, I don't drink Bud Light. You said, like I said, if I do, it'll be a Bud Light Platinum.
Mm-hmm.
You said, but putting a transgender person on the can don't make you gay. So why are you mad?
Thank you. Exactly. That does not make you that. So,
Hmm.
like people get so caught up. Again, they focus on the wrong thing, worried about the wrong thing entirely. Why are we still at a point where we are discriminating against, where we're bashing, where we are putting down?
Hmm.
People are entitled to do what they do. You don't have to do that. You don't have to identify that way. You can keep being who you are, but everybody deserves to feel like a human.
Well,
Everybody
absolutely.
deserves to feel accepted. And when I say accepted, not saying that you necessarily that would be your choice or you think that is right, but accept it to the degree that you respect that
Mhm.
person's decision to be who they are.
Exactly, because the way I look at it, you said me and you are no different. You saying right now you have on a dress, but if you were to put your pants on, you saying like we do it the exact same way, one leg
Yeah,
at a time.
that's right. That's right. Exactly. Exactly. And that's just so crazy to me that, folks would there's a rainbow flag on the outside of the can and a transgender person. I mean, when there's animals on cans or does that make you that thing too?
Hmm.
Absolutely not. That's just silly. It's just silly. But people are just, they want something to talk about. They need
Absolutely.
something to talk about. And I think part of that is it's much easier to talk about you. It's much easier to deflect, right?
Hmm.
It's much easier to talk about other problems than to fix what the real problem is. And that's you. That's each individual person. Work on you. Stop worrying about what else is going on, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just like I said, just the whole culture war on either side. Just like I was talking about it the other day. We were talking about like Uncle Ben, or you said Aunt Jemima. You said what they in the Lando Lakes. You said thing. They took away the mascots for that, and I'm like, black folks didn't care about the mascot. We kind of identified with it, but now all of a sudden you got your fake outrage. So now you,
Exactly. Exactly. You want, your tears, or you're upset about some things. And so now you're going to go ahead and, after all of these years, but you still have that mindset.
hmm
So you're not fooling me because you're changing names of teams, or you know, um, you're taking steps to make things seem inclusive and
hmm
equitable and all of that. It's still not. It's
right.
still not, because you don't like, did we ever even really have a conversation about what the real problem was with perhaps an Uncle Ben or an Aunt Jemima? Like, was there a real actual dialogue about the thing? You know,
I mean,
there,
there was definitely a dialogue, but it's so hidden in the dark corners of the internet that nobody's really talking about it. So, like when the fake outrage comes out, it's basically like you touched on the surface, and oh my God, I'm mad.
yeah,
But the
right.
people that but
Talk
like
to us. Where's the
it,
dialogue with us?
they don't have dialogue with us.
Exactly.
They sit there and they're mad. You say, oh, well, you should be mad because I'm mad. Well, you know
Right.
what we're gonna do for you black people? We're gonna play Black Lives Matter on an important street. Appreciate it, my guy. That solved everything.
Yeah, that does a whole lot. Now everything's so much better.
I'm like, we asked for qualified immunity or the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, but no, you give us Black Lives Matter in front of the White House. Thank
Painted
you.
on the street. Exactly.
Appreciate
Exactly.
it.
Yeah,
You, but then you pander to us every 4 years for us to vote for you again.
that's right. That's
And
right.
like I said, all we get is you said a mural on the street but you said the park across the street, their basketball goals are torn down and need to be repainted. Why don't you do that?
Well, they gave y'all Juneteenth too, so don't forget
Oh
about
my God.
that. Don't
And
forget.
let's corporate white people hijack that too.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Juneteenth ice cream. Are you kidding me?
It's just so, while, like, when it became a national holiday, there's the sense of pride, but then it's like, no, because first of all, they're just throwing things out there at you to pacify you, to placate you, to make you forget what's really actually going on during this
Mhm.
time period. And they don't care a bit more about Juneteenth than a man in the moon. They didn't gave you a day off, whoop-de-doo. That's
You said
only if
right.
you work for the government.
Right, and you sit here raging out. You say, "Oh my God, they gave those black people another holiday." I'll take a paid holiday any day. Bring it here. I don't care what it is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Use it
Yeah.
like I said, I'm just being facetious and funny here. You can put it like you said, master with the whip day. As long as I get a paid day off.
I'll take my day off, thank you.
You said, but it's like I said, it's just people. They're just. It's just insane to me. You say like going back to your podcast, what are some of your favorite subjects to talk about?
Some of my favorite subjects really would be sort of self-development,
Mm,
talking about people believing in themselves. That is huge. And talking about, I will have to say, a great part of my audience is male.
mhm.
It is
Well, I mean, look
mostly,
at you.
uh, well, thank you.
I'm married, but I'm giving out a compliment. You
Well,
said,
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm,
So most of my audience is male, and I hesitate to say on my show, outright, but you can tell by listening to me, I
mhm,
am not a feminist. I am more traditional gender role identifying.
mhm,
um, and I feel that in a lot of ways, we let men down. I feel like in a lot of ways we don't lift them up. We don't encourage them. We don't see the greatness. And so that's a lot of what I talk about. It's important to me that our men, period, but particularly our men that look like that look like me, our black and brown
mhm,
men understand their worth and their value, and for themselves first, and then to everybody else, because you have to see the thing in you first, because if
mhm.
you don't see it in you, you trying to portray it is not going to matter. So I like to address issues as relates to people, period, but how it is that I think we can be of better support to our men, talking about things that men don't often get a chance to talk about, emotions,
Mhm,
feelings, because y'all have them. You
mhm.
do. Sometimes we forget that as women, but you do. And so just giving way on my platform to acknowledge and encourage and appreciate openly our men, I think it's important.
Absolutely. You said, well, that brings me, but you said back to the another thing that's popular right now, the whole little thing with Iyanla Van Zant when she had the men sitting across from the women, and the men were basically saying we fired. It's not that we don't want to, you saying, date black women. It's just the black women we're running across are so broken, and you saying are so mean and angry. You saying we're having to pay for things that other people did instead of you just giving me a chance. That we understand that you say you've been through X, Y, and Z,
Hmm.
but you said, well, if you're not ready for a relationship, then you said why even entertain that? You said, but
Right.
because now you're putting your emotional trauma and baggage on you said another person that did nothing to you. You said,
Hmm.
so like, what's one thing that you would tell women? You said that want to be loved, but are trying to find it hard to let go of that emotional baggage that they have on them.
And that is a real place. That's a real place for many to most of us, because if you have lived a particular amount of years, you've probably been in relationships and situations that have been traumatic, to
Mhm,
some degree or another. And trauma doesn't have to be, you know, sort of death, but trauma, they're all levels of trauma that we experience as human beings. And we're born with a particular level of trauma and born into a particular amount of trauma. And so it is incumbent upon people, I think, to do the self work. And
mhm,
what do I mean by that? That means looking at who you are as a complete individual, all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly,
mhm,
acknowledging who you are, loving who you are, even in spite of your flaws, loving everything about who you are, understanding that your worth you're worth whatever it is that you want. You know,
Mhm.
you're worth being who you want to be. You're worth having what you want to have. You are worthy because you are a human being. Um, Acknowledging the goodness in yourself first, that's a first step, because you really can scarcely love somebody else if you don't love yourself.
Mhm.
You can't give away what you don't have. You know, how am I gonna, how do I even understand what love is if I don't have it for myself? And so I think that oftentimes folks jump into relationships to cover up the things that they're feeling,
Mhm.
when really you need to first address the things that are bothering you. And I think a part of relationships, romantic relationships, are meant to heal some traumas. You know, if you get with somebody and you are just opening up wounds and pouring salt on them,
Mhm.
that's toxic. But if you can get in there and you can see each other's things and you can speak to those things and you can help each other work your way through that, that's a beautiful place to be. But you first have to have a a modicum of healing yourself. You first have to come to a place where you don't feel guilty, where you don't feel ashamed, where you don't feel all of the things that we feel that we just don't like to admit, because we think that it makes us look weak, when
Mhm.
just about everybody around you is feeling a particular degree of those things as well. So working on yourself so that you are not putting off, all of your negativity onto
Mhm.
somebody else. And it's difficult when you get into a healthy relationship. It is sometimes difficult to recognize that as healthy, particularly if you've had a history of toxic and traumatic ones.
Right.
But
It was like I was thinking about something because you like we've all had a job that you said we either loved or we hated. It really doesn't matter. We've all had coworkers that we loved, some not so much.
right,
It's just like you look at a man's supposed to already be put together by the time he comes to you. You say not saying that that's what is expected from society. A man's already supposed to be put together. I should already know how to do this. I should have this X, Y, and Z, and this, that, and the third.
mm,
Now, if you look at because of yes, I guess reality TV like the Bad Girls Club and stuff like that, you see more and more videos online going viral for women fighting at the job.
mhm,
Men, not so much. You see it too, but not so much.
right,
And it's crazy because you saying like you see like when the women are doing it, it's yes, honey. You saying you said tell that B blah blah blah. You saying yes, she deserved that.
mhm,
If you see a man do it, you look in the comments and say, bruh, you got a family at the house. Do you realize what you just did?
right,
He
right.
said, but it's the exact same scenario on two different sides of the coin. But you said, like, I think it brings me to this book that I wanted to pick up. I was listening to this other YouTuber by the name of The Amazing Lucas, and he keeps talking about this book by Dr. Royce DeJoy called Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome.
Mhm.
And it's because us, we're indoctrinated to hate each other. You see, it's
Yes.
like they'll
Yes.
sit there, they'll sit there and say, oh, well, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Look here. Black people are the epitome of pull yourself up by the bootstraps.
Thank you. Thank you.
Period. Full stop.
Yes. Yes.
It's like,
Mhm.
and you said, with that being said, it's like, what would you tell women, like, because if I'm at the job and I've got to hold my composure, I really want to crack this dude, but I know I got a family at the house, and you saying like, you say, yeah, we might have something, the savings, or we might not, or whatever, but you just like, I have to control my composure, but you're allowed to fly off the handle. And you said, I'm just supposed to pick up the pieces after you fly off the handle.
Yeah, that's unacceptable. And we know that both men and women have emotions, right?
Hmm.
It's just that I think women are taught, I think that we are taught to be more in tune
Hmm.
with our emotions, and we are sometimes led by them more,
Hmm.
which is where all these ridiculous antics and behaviors come from. You are not acting logically, clearly. You are acting out of emotion. We
Hmm.
know that emotions are both good and bad. So controlling, as a person, particularly an adult person, you have to learn how to control yourself. You have to learn how to control what you say to people, control how you treat people, control how you act when other people are able to witness that. That is each individual's responsibility. And so it is not, I think it's ridiculous to think that it's okay for women to fly off the handle and to act out and to fight and to, call each other, excuse me, this or that. But part of that is that the hatred that women have for one another, because we don't have very strong relationships. Why? Because we see each other as competition as opposed to, connection, or as opposed to your sister. We see this, it's a threat. And that's its own, that's its own show, I'm sure. But
of course, definitely.
But definitely, you got to control yourself. Like, there is no excuse for clowning somebody publicly. Like, there just isn't. And if you don't, that's like acting like a kindergartner or a preschooler, in fact. And you should be ashamed to do it. Really.
You saying, well, like, I'm gonna use to open up my relationship just a little bit. You not too much, but it's like, because as a married man, you saying, like, if you have a relationship, you're gonna argue at some point in time.
Yes.
Me personally, the way I am, I'm not tongue wrestling with nobody. I'm not doing it. It's like something I do. If my wife gets upset, I'm like, all right, honey, when you're ready to stop acting like a toddler, then you come talk to me. But and then I walk away. And you said that works. You said, of course, I know the whole toddler thing. It's just, I'm petty as hell. I'm just.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is that right there? You are poking the bear talking about a toddler. You about to make it 1,000 times worse. But no, and that is true. Like, when okay, so you opened up, I'll speak about myself. I know that I can be passionate about things. I can be emotional when I'm upset about something. And not always, calming myself down to think about it before I just, start running off or saying whatever, or raising my voice or what have you. But are any of those things appropriate? No, they're not. It's taking the moment in the anger to say, hold up, wait a minute. No, hold up, let me just contain myself. Let me just hold myself. Let me just, not put this out there, because sometimes you put things out that you can't ever take back. You put things out that can be detrimental and forever remembered. And they might, somebody might keep that receipt and keep pulling that joker out on you every so often. So it definitely pays to be mindful and have control of your emotions. If you got to go write something down so you don't just say the wrong thing, if you have to, hell, I don't know, record something in your voice memo just to feel like you said it to somebody and then erase that joker, do what you have to do to be able to control. But hopefully, I think the goal is to be able to not be triggered by things to that degree where it takes you all out of your hookup. But to be able to let things sort of happen as they're going to happen, and you acknowledge it and deal with it, as opposed to, losing your cool.
Right. You said it's funny because, like, if you ask my children, there's not one of them that can sit there and say that they've seen me and their mother argue. Like, we do it via text message.
Right. And because people are gonna have disagreements. That's part of the human experience. Like, everybody's not gonna agree about the same thing, and you're gonna do something that's gonna piss me off. Just plain and simple.
And like I said, we do it via text message, so the children are not privy to what's going on.
Right.
He was like, yeah, we showed us united front. Yeah, we showed that we love each other, but I'm just letting you know, your mother was everything but a child of God in my text message.
Right. And children, it's funny. I think that a married situation or a couple situation, that is a completely different relationship than your relationship with your children, and children don't have a place in their parents' relationship that way, because that predates you, obviously, predates the child. That's their thing. And the way that your parents relate to one another, that's between them. You know, that's between them, and the way they relate to you as a parent, that is your relationship with
Absolutely.
them. You know, but it is important to raise children to understand that there are going to be disagreements, and then healthy ways to flesh those disagreements out. But they don't have to hear all that, you know.
Right. It's just like I have 5 children. I have 4 girls and 1 son.
Lord have mercy.
It's
4
all but
girls?
yes. Yes. 19, 17, 15, 8, and the baby girl is 3.
Oh my God. Are y'all going through teenage girls?
Yeah,
Wow.
we're going through it. But
Yeah.
it's every day is an adventure. But it's like a lot of people swore up and down like when when I had we had the baby. Oh, she's gonna have Tyrone. You saying wrapped around.
Yeah.
You
Her
saying
finger.
her finger.
Yeah.
No, the hell she ain't. She got 3 sisters that are older than her that messed that up. No, no, no.
Exactly.
And it's a lot. You said as a father, you said like I do want my son to be able to express how he feels.
Yes.
But you saying like I'm one of those type. Even with my girls, you're not just gonna cry for anything. You
Right.
just like, and it's something I do with my kids, and they're just like, especially if they're getting emotional, especially and if it's something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my God, you said such and such said I look funny, or oh they're making fun of my you said my shirt because I got a hole in it when I was playing football.
Uh-huh.
Are you bleeding? No. Are you dying? No. Stop worrying about
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
And then, of course, my son, he's petty as I am. He's like, son, are you bleeding? No. Are you dying? Yeah. We'll continue dying. Now go away.
Do it in the other room then. I don't want to see.
Basically, it's just funny because, like I said, I've taken the characteristics from my parents as well as my wife. She's taken some of the characteristics from her parents, and we're trying to do this. We're trying to come together and and parent our children the best way we know how.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm the
That's
type of
all we
parent.
can do. That's
Mhm,
all we can do is the best that we know how to do, you
mhm.
know?
Now, me as a parent, I'm not gonna use it like everybody's like, oh, my kids that have to have the latest J's. Not if you fucking up in school, you're not.
Yeah. And even if
Or
you're doing wonderful, you don't necessarily have to have the latest J's.
right. It's like because I think like now I think we got away from where our parents taught and we tried to do it our own way and started becoming our children's friend
Yes.
instead of their parent, which is why it's got so many of these children entitled.
Thank you.
And these,
I was
and,
having this conversation with someone just the other day. My mother, it was like a mantra of hers when I was younger. I am not your friend, I'm your mother. You know, and I used to feel so bad. Like, what? Wouldn't you want to be my friend? You know, but as I got older, I understood that there's a commonality that you shouldn't be that common with your parents where you say just anything, or you know how you are with friends, you treat them however, you say whatever, you're comfortable to not always, you know, be the most respectful or be at that's not how you should treat your parent. And so we do have a bunch of children that parents have tried to befriend instead of raise. And then they're out of control and you don't know how to get them back because they don't respect you as an authority figure because you were never that. You were their friend. And that's a whole problem.
But you see, like I attributed that to using the detriment using that we've faced in this country for years. You said like as the generations go by, we slowly. You said like we've gotten to more where we hate each other more and more and more and more. So we're like literally putting ourselves in situations or using like to where it's the point where babies are having babies.
Yeah.
So like yes, they're becoming friends with their children because intellectually they line up.
Yeah.
And
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And it's just like it's something. So like even with my children, like when they have friends around, you see, it's like I'm not in the military. My father was. I have a bunch of family in the military. Of course, I grew up in the South, so it's always yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. If you said your friends are either going to abide by that when they come in this house, or they can get the hell out.
Right.
Because I don't. It's like I'm a quote the great philosopher T.I. I don't know what you would do for your respect, but I'm gonna die for mine.
There you go. Exactly. And it's, you know, there is we just have to be very careful with the way that we raise our children and what examples we put before them. And you got to have children will try you, like they will.
Mm-hmm.
Human beings, period. That's just what we do. We try to find the path of least resistance. We try to figure out what we can get away with. We will play one against the other. Adults do it. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts in childhood, so you have to have a firmer rein and a firmer grip on things.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not always seem fun to the child, but they figure it out as they get older that it was, in their best interest, especially when they see their friends running around just all ziggity boo. They're like, hold up. How are they saying this to their mother, acting like that, like you would have killed me? Yep. And I'm glad you know that. And I'm glad you know how to conduct yourself. But when you become adults, when your children grow up to adulthood, then like all of my children are now, they're adults. The youngest one is 21.
Oh, okay.
So, I have a 30-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 21-year-old. And so, they are all very well grown. Somebody asked me the other day, well, did you curse at your children, when they were growing up? No. And rap music is my favorite genre of music. And, I prefer the original version with the whatever, but I wouldn't listen to curse words and things like that when they were younger, because that's not what I wanted. I didn't want them to hear that. I didn't want them to see that. I'm definitely not cussing them out. They didn't see me. I wasn't a big drinker when they were growing up anyway, but they didn't see that. There were certain things that I felt like as children, that's not the part that I play in your life. So there's no need. You don't need to see that. Right. But, as they're older now, you're an adult. And so you can understand things a little bit better. So, I might let a curse word slip out every now and again. But, the relationship just changes, but the respect is there because it was laid down from the beginning.
Absolutely. Now, you said you touched on something earlier. You said not being a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you said we kind of been dancing around it. You said the entire conversation. Like, what do you think about, like you said, like women? You said like more scantily clad, like you said, the Sierra thing that just happened not too long ago, and I mean, oh my God, they tore her a new one. And you said in the comment section, you just like she's supposed to be a woman of God, or but then she comes out pretty much butt naked at I guess some Grammy after party or whatnot. You said, so like, where does you cross the line from being your individual self doing what you want to do, and then crossing and just being too risque for you said where it should be in the bedroom and not outside?
Well, she didn't come out, nude, but this is the thing. First of all, and I addressed this on my show just the other day because somebody made a comment, and I think he was maybe doing it in jest, because it didn't seem necessarily angry or like he was trying to chastise me, but just the fact that he felt the need to type that. And he said, why must I guess, come on in my shorts, showing all my legs and this, that, and the third, and I didn't address it in writing. But the next show, which was on Thursday, because I guess he did this after Monday's show. So on Thursday, I addressed it. And I said, first of all, this is skin. Like this is not a sexual organ. That's not what this is. This is skin. You cannot procreate by touching this, by looking at it. These are my arms. Those are my legs. Now, if in fact that does something to you and makes you feel some kind of way, you need to control that. But I put on what I want to put on, because like I was saying to them, I said, when I'm talking to you guys, I can see myself, right? I see what I have on. I see how I look. I dress myself for what I want to see. Somebody else likes it, fine. I have tattoos. I like looking at my tattoos. So I like wearing things that, when the weather permits. Right. That allows me to see them. I'm an artist. This is art. So I like to look at it, I love my complexion. I like looking at my brown skin. It don't turn me on. It's just my brown skin, So we over sexualize things that have no need to be sexualized. Now, unless I'm actively enticing you, but if I'm sitting here with shorts on or with no sleeves on and I'm talking to you, that's just a wardrobe choice. That's just what I'm doing because this is what I feel like putting on. But to criticize people, what does being a woman of God have to do with what one chooses to wear necessarily? Like, did her behavior change? Did she denounce God? Did she do any things that would make her a different person? Just
Right.
because of what she chose to wear, people want to crucify somebody. She has a husband. I'm so sure this man likes looking at her, in particular ways. I'm sure she likes looking at herself. That's just, how people are. And we get so caught up in those sorts of things. It's like, it's clothing, it's skin, it's, get over it. Why are we sexualizing every little thing? Everything doesn't merit sexualizing, but that is what happens to women. And no matter what color, women, period, are over sexualized, and particularly Black and brown women.
Well, on the flip side of that, well, you said, does it cross the line if it was, like, let's say, the whole Lizzo situation when she showed up to the basketball game with the T-shirt with the butt cut out and she had the thong on, and there's children at the game? You said, does that cross the line, or is that fall in the same
I
category?
mean, it's probably in poor taste,
Mm,
but I don't know. A butt cheek is different than a vagina. A butt
mm,
cheek is different than an areola.
mm.
I mean, Prince had pants with the butt cheeks cut out, right? And he was
And
on
he
stage,
set light skinned niggas back years with that shit.
right? High heels and butt cut out pants. But it's like people, and then when people are in those facets of life, when they're in that industry, it is about keeping themselves relevant. It is about keeping people talking about them. So
Mm,
oftentimes they push the envelope. They do. So why we get upset about things, it's like, okay, there's children there. Your child has seen a butt before. They absolutely have. And you're not going to tell me they haven't. Now, if she came with her breasts out, which she would not have been allowed to do, that
mm.
would have been a whole different ball game. But like, children see worse than that watching TV.
I mean,
They're
true.
probably looking at worse than that on their telephones.
Yep.
So, get out of here. Get out of here with that. But I think that people ought to be allowed, with definitely some sort of, like, we can't work, it's illegal to go out on the street naked. That is illegal. You will get arrested for indecent exposure. But as long as certain things are covered up and things are done in a particular amount of taste, keep your comments to yourself. Because folks are not necessarily, when I come on my show wearing whatever, I'm wearing it because this is what I want to put on. If
Right.
you like it, wonderful. Thank you. If you don't, you can always watch something else.
Mm,
It's just like, I just, and this is something that I definitely have dealt with at least since puberty, and it's
right.
just, it's sickening. It really is sickening the way that women are sexualized when we're not even trying to do that. Not even
Yeah.
trying to. My father is Muslim and all my siblings on that side are Muslim. One of my brothers got married last year and the ceremony was at a mosque. And so I wasn't about to go up in there not dressed appropriately, head not covered and all of that. I am covered from head to, only thing you can see are my hands, my face, and my feet. Do
Mm,
you think that stopped any man from looking?
nah.
It didn't. My dress was not tight fitting.
Mm,
It didn't. So it's like, it doesn't, it don't matter. It's not about the clothing. That's not what it's about. The
mm.
clothing or the lack thereof.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, this has been amazing. You said, before we get out of here, give everybody your socials where they can find you, like what days that you post, and you send and where they can find you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So you can find Tea Time with Tacoma Maria on Facebook Live every Monday and Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. So like I said, and the shows are obviously it's Facebook Live. So when I'm done, the shows are still there. You can go back and take a look at things. I am also on Instagram, T_K Nicole 426. I am on TikTok. I am on, and all of my stuff is on my Facebook page. So you can see all of my, all of my socials there, but tune into the show. Folks enjoy it. The audience is great. There's great audience participation. So I encourage folks to, to tune in and just see what we're talking about. And I think we really are just people helping people to be better versions of ourselves. So remember, that's Tea Time with Tacoma Maria every Monday and Thursday at 7:00 p.m.
That is awesome. You said, like, if you like this video, make sure that you like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on that bell notification so you don't miss another video. And without further ado, I love you. My guest, Tacoma Maria, loves you. Got it. Yes, but got it. She loves you. We out of here, man. Peace.
Peace.
The boy Dub Deuce in the building.